The great hall of the palace stretched upward like the inside of a frozen star. Silver light poured down from crystals that had been burning for 10,000 years. Hundreds of nobles stood in perfect silence, their luminescent skin glowing softly in the pale light. They waited for their queen to speak. Queen Vila sat upon her throne of white stone. Her silver hair fell past her shoulders like liquid metal. Her eyes, deep purple and ancient, swept across her subjects. She was over 400 years old, but she looked no older than a human woman of 40. They did not age as other species did. They measured time in centuries, not decades. "My daughter has been gone for 10 of their years," the queen said. Her voice was cold and clear like wind across ice. 10 human years. Princess claimed she needed time for her research. She said she was studying the humans and their ways. I allowed this. I trusted her. The nobles shifted uncomfortably. They knew something was wrong. The queen never spoke of personal matters in open council. Lord stepped forward. He was tall even for and his silver skin held a blue tint that marked him as a warrior. He had served the royal family for 300 years. "My queen, our scouts have searched many worlds. We believe we have found the princess." Queen Vila's fingers tightened on the arms of her throne. "Where?" "A human station. They call it Horizon 7. It is a trade hub on the edge of their territory." Lord paused. His next words were careful. "She appears to be living among them, not as an observer, as one of them." Whispers rippled through the hall like wind through grass. The queen raised her hand, and silence returned instantly. "Living among humans," Queen Vila repeated slowly. "My daughter, the heir to our empire, living among creatures who die before they reach their 100th year, creatures who cannot even touch minds with their own kind." "There is more, my queen." Lord's voice dropped lower. "Our scouts report that she is not alone. She lives with a human male." The silence that followed was absolute. No one dared to breathe. Queen Vila rose from her throne. Her long robe swept the floor as she descended the steps. Every eye followed her, but no one spoke. They could feel her anger radiating outward like heat from a dying star. "Prepare my ship," the queen commanded. "I will retrieve my daughter myself." Far across the galaxy, on a station built of human steel and human dreams, Princess stood at a window and watched ships come and go. Horizon 7 was never quiet. Cargo vessels arrived every hour, carrying goods from 100 worlds. Humans hurried through the corridors below, always busy, always rushing somewhere. No longer looked like a princess. She had hidden the glow of her silver skin with human cosmetics. She wore simple clothes in dark colors. Her hair was tied back in a practical style. To anyone who passed her, she was just another worker on the station. But she was not alone at the window. "Mama, look," a small voice called out. A girl of 8 years old ran to side. Her name was, and she had her father's dark hair and her mother's bright eyes. If you looked closely, you could see a faint silver shimmer under her skin, but most people never looked that closely. "What is it, my love?" asked, kneeling down to her daughter's level. "That ship is so big. Is Papa going to fix that one?" Smiled, "Perhaps. Your father can fix anything." A smaller child appeared behind. This was only 6 years old. He was quieter than his sister, always watching and thinking. His eyes held that same unusual brightness, a mixture of human warmth and light. "Papa coming home?" asked softly. "Soon, little one, very soon." Gathered both children close to her. These moments were precious to her. 10 years ago, she had given up everything for this simple life. She had abandoned her throne, her people, and her mother's love. She had chosen a human man over an empire. She had never regretted it, not once. The door to their small home opened and Park stepped inside. He was tired. His hands were stained with engine grease and his back ached from hours of crawling through ship systems. But when he saw his family waiting for him, all the exhaustion fell away. "Papa," both children ran to him at once. laughed and lifted onto his shoulders while grabbed his leg. "Were you good today? Did you listen to your mother?" "Always," declared. "Mostly," admitted quietly. Walked to her husband and kissed his cheek. She tasted salt and metal on his skin, the honest taste of hard work. "How was the day?" "Long. Captain's ship needed a new power core. I had to rewire the whole system." Sat down and stretched his arms. "But it is done now. We have food for another month." Their home was small. 2 rooms, a kitchen, and a window that looked out at the stars. The furniture was old and worn. Nothing matched. But on the walls hung drawings that had made, and toys were scattered across the floor, and the smell of dinner cooking filled the air. It was not a palace, it was something better. That night, after the children were asleep and sat together by the window, the stars glittered cold and distant, and somewhere among them was the world had left behind. "Something troubles you," said. He had always been able to read her thoughts even without telepathy. "Tell me." Was quiet for a long moment. "I felt something today, a presence. My people have ways of sensing each other across great distances. I have not felt another in 10 years, but today, for just a moment, I felt one." Took her hand in his. His skin was rough from work, but his touch was gentle. "Scouts." "Perhaps, I do not know." Looked at him, and fear lived in her bright eyes. "If my mother finds us, she will not understand. She will see you as beneath her. She will see our children as mistakes to be corrected." "Then we will make her understand," said simply. "You do not know my mother." "No, but I know you, and I know our children," squeezed her hand. "Whatever comes, we face it together. That is what humans do. We do not run from hard things." Leaned her head against his shoulder. She had loved him from the first moment she truly saw him, 10 years ago, covered in burns and still fighting to save lives that were not his own. She had loved his courage. She had loved his heart. She had loved how much life he could fit into such a short time. "Together," she whispered. High above Horizon 7, a ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. It was not like the cargo vessels that came and went every day. This ship was made of white metal that seemed to glow from within. Its design was beautiful and terrible, like a blade made of starlight. On its hull was the symbol of the Empire, a crown of silver stars. Queen Vila stood at the viewing window of her ship and looked down at the human station below. Somewhere in that tangle of metal and movement was her daughter. Somewhere down there was the truth she had been avoiding for 10 years. "We have arrived, my queen," Lord announced. "Shall I send soldiers to locate the princess?" "No," Queen Vila said. "I will find her myself. A mother should collect her own child." She did not yet know that she would find more than a daughter. She did not yet know about the small house with drawings on the walls. She did not yet know about the dark-haired children with starlight in their eyes. She did not yet know that her entire world was about to change. 12 years before the Queen's ship arrived at Horizon 7, Princess stood on Research Station Nova and looked at humans for the first time. She was disgusted. They were everywhere, running through corridors, shouting at each other, laughing too loudly, eating messy food with their hands. They touched each other constantly, slapping shoulders and shaking hands like they could not bear to be alone in their own skin. Stood in her white robes, her silver skin glowing softly, and wondered why her mother had sent her to this terrible place. "You must understand them," Queen Vila had said. "Humans spread across the galaxy like a disease. They build and breed faster than any species we have ever seen. In 300 years they have gone from one planet to thousands. We must know why." So had come to watch, to study, to find the weakness in these strange creatures. For the first month she kept her distance. She took notes on human behavior. She observed their short lives and found them sad. A human scientist would spend 20 years learning his craft, work for another 20, and then grow old and die before he could truly master anything. What was the point? They were different. A scientist had centuries to perfect her knowledge. An artist could spend 100 years on a single painting. Humans rushed through everything because they had no time. They were like insects, thought, busy and brief. Then the reactor exploded. Was in the observation deck when the alarms began screaming. Red lights flashed everywhere. The station shook so hard that she fell to the floor. Through the window, she could see a section of the station burning. Humans ran past her in panic. Some were crying. Some were shouting orders. The evacuation announcement played over and over. All personnel proceed to escape pods. This is not a drill. Made her way to the escape pods like everyone else. But as she moved through the corridors, she noticed something strange. The humans were not just running away. Some of them were running toward the fire. She stopped and watched as 3 humans in engineering uniforms pushed past the crowd, going in the wrong direction. "What are they doing?" she asked a passing woman. "The reactor core," the woman gasped. "If someone does not shut it down manually, the whole station will explode. Those engineers are going to try. But they will die." The woman looked at with tears in her eyes. Yes, they know. Something broke inside in that moment. Something she had not known was there. She followed the engineers. The heat grew worse as she got closer to the reactor section. Her skin protected her better than human flesh, but even she could feel the burning. Warning signs flashed everywhere. Radiation levels were rising. Any human in this area would be dead within minutes. She found them in the reactor control room. 3 engineers, their skin already red from heat and radiation. 2 of them were lying on the floor, unconscious or dead. The third was still standing, still working at a control panel, his hands shaking but not stopping. It was Park. He was young, maybe 25 years old in human time. His face was covered in sweat and burns. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead. He should have been running for his life. Instead, he was fighting to save a station full of strangers. Human called out, "Stop, you will die." Did not look at her. "If I stop, everyone dies, 2,000 people. I can save them." "You cannot, the damage is too great." "Then I will die trying." His fingers flew across the controls. "You should leave. There is no reason for both of us to burn." Stepped closer. She could feel the radiation pressing against her skin like needles. Even for this was dangerous, but she did not leave. "Why?" she asked. "Why do you sacrifice yourself for people you do not even know?" For the first time looked at her. His eyes were brown and filled with pain, but also something else, something bright and fierce. "Because they are people," he said simply. "Because I can help, because it is the right thing to do." Then he turned back to his work. Watched him. She watched his burned hands move across the controls. She watched him fight against death itself, not for glory or reward, but because he believed it was right. In 400 years, she had never seen anything like it. She moved to stand beside him. "Tell me what to do, I will help." Together, they fought the reactor, used her technology to boost the cooling systems, rerouted power from non-essential sections. The heat grew worse. The radiation alarm screamed louder, felt herself growing weak, but she did not stop. Finally, after what felt like hours, the reactor began to cool. The alarms went silent one by one. The red lights turned to yellow, then to green. Collapsed against the control panel. His body was broken. His skin was covered in burns. He had taken a radiation dose that would kill most humans within a week. But he was smiling. "We did it," he whispered. "Everyone is safe." Caught him as he fell. She carried him to the medical bay herself, running through corridors filled with shocked survivors. She stayed by his bed for 3 days while human doctors fought to save his life. They did not know why a princess cared so much about one human engineer. Neither did at first. But as she watched him sleep, as she watched his broken body slowly begin to heal, she understood. This human had shown her something her own people had forgotten. He had shown her that life was precious not because it lasted long, but because it mattered. Every moment could be used to help. Every day could be a gift to others. Humans burned bright because they knew they would burn out. And in that burning, they found a courage that her ancient people had lost. When finally Woke was there. "You saved us," she said. "You saved everyone." "We saved them," he corrected. "You helped. Why did you help?" Thought about her mother. She thought about her throne. She thought about all the lessons she had learned about human weakness and strength. "Because it was the right thing to do," she said. Smiled, even covered in bandages, even weak from radiation sickness, his smile was warm. After that, they could not stay apart. Visited him every day as he recovered. They talked for hours. He told her about Earth, about his family, about human dreams and human fears. She told him about immortality that felt like a cage, about power that brought no happiness. "How do you do it?" she asked him one night. "How do you live knowing you will die?" "Everyone dies," said. "Too, eventually. The question is not how long you live. The question is what you do with the time you have." "My people have forgotten that," admitted. "We have so much time that we waste it. We do nothing because we can always do it later. Centuries pass and we achieve nothing." Took her hand. His skin was rough against her silver fingers, but his touch was gentle. "Then maybe you need someone to remind you that later does not last forever." 3 months later, on a small moon far from the eyes of the empire, they were married. No princes or lords attended. No silver crowns were worn. Just two people who had found each other against all odds, promising to face the future together. Sent a message to her mother. "I need more time for my research. Please do not worry." Then she and disappeared together, starting a new life that would lead them eventually to Horizon 7. To a small home with drawings on the walls, to two children with starlight in their eyes. Never regretted her choice. Every morning she woke up next to a man who had taught her what it meant to truly live. Every night she fell asleep grateful for the gift of his love. The galaxy called humans weak and primitive. They called them insects with short lives. But knew the truth. Humans were not weak. They were brave in a way that immortals could never be. They loved fiercely because they knew time was precious. They built and dreamed and sacrificed because every moment mattered. Park had run into fire to save strangers. That single act had changed everything. That was the power of humanity, not in spite of their short lives but because of them. Queen Vila walked through the corridors of Horizon 7, and humans stepped aside like water parting before a stone. They did not know who she was. They only knew that she was something powerful and terrible, something that did not belong in their world of rust and steel. Lord walked beside her, his hand resting on his weapon. Behind them came Elder Myra, ancient even by standards, her silver skin so pale it was almost white. "The princess lives in the lower districts," Lord reported. "Section 14. She uses the name Lee." "Lee," the queen repeated, "a human name." "It appears she has adopted many human customs, my queen. She works as a healer in a small clinic. She treats the poor who cannot afford proper doctors." Queen Vila said nothing, but her eyes grew colder. They descended deeper into the station. The upper levels had been clean and orderly, filled with merchants and travelers. But the lower districts were different. Here, the walls were old and stained. The lights flickered. The people wore worn clothes and carried the weight of hard lives on their shoulders. Humans looked at the delegation with suspicious eyes. They had never seen beings like this in their neighborhoods. Some children pointed and whispered. Some adults pulled their families away, sensing danger. Elder Myra observed everything with quiet interest. "They live so differently from us," she murmured. "So close together, so connected to each other." "Like insects in a hive," Lord said with disgust. "Perhaps," Elder Myra replied, "or perhaps like a family." They found the address. It was a small door in a long hallway of small doors. Nothing marked it as special. No guards, no symbols, no signs of royalty, just a simple home for simple people. Queen Vila stood before the door. For the first time in centuries, she felt uncertain. Behind this door was her daughter. Behind this door was a truth she had been avoiding for 10 years. She did not knock. Queens do not knock. She pushed the door open and stepped inside. The first thing she saw was the drawings, dozens of them covering every wall. Pictures of ships and stars and flowers and families. Pictures drawn by small hands with big imaginations. The colors were bright and messy and full of joy. The second thing she saw was her daughter. Stood in the middle of the small room, her silver skin glowing in the dim light. She looked different than Vila remembered, smaller somehow, softer. Her royal robes had been replaced by simple human clothes. Her hair was tied back in a practical style. She looked like a common worker, not a princess. But her eyes were the same. Those bright purple eyes that Vila had looked into on the day was born. Those eyes now held fear. Mother said, just one word, just one breath. Queen Vila did not respond, because behind her daughter she saw something else. A human man stood near the window. He was not tall or handsome by standards. His skin was brown and rough. His hands were marked with scars from hard work. He wore simple clothes and had simple features. There was nothing special about him, except that he stood without fear before the queen of the empire. "You must be Queen Vela," the human said. His voice was calm and steady. "Has told me much about you." "Do not speak to me, creature," the queen hissed. "You have no right to even look at me." "He has every right," stepped forward, placing herself between her mother and her husband. "He is my husband. His name is Park." Husband? The word hit Queen Vila like a physical blow. Her daughter had married a human. Her daughter had bound herself to an insect, a creature who would be dead in 50 years, a being so far beneath royalty that the idea was almost funny. But Queen Vila did not laugh. She could not, because she saw something else now, something moving behind the human man. Two small faces peeked out from behind his legs. Two children with dark hair and bright eyes. Two children with silver shimmering under their skin. "Grandmother?" the older child asked. A girl. She could not have been more than 8 years old. Queen Vila's legs almost gave out beneath her. The room spun. The universe tilted. "Are my hybrids?" she whispered. Moved to stand with her family, she took his hand in hers. She pulled her children close. When she spoke, her voice was strong. "This is my daughter. She is 8 years old. And this is my son. He is 6. They are your mother, half and half human." Lord drew his weapon. "Abominations. The mixing of royal blood is forbidden by ancient law." "Put that away," said quietly. He did not raise his voice. He did not move, but something in his eyes made Lord hesitate. "You dare speak to me, human?" "I dare protect my family," stepped forward, placing himself between the weapon and his children. "If you want to hurt them, you will have to go through me first." Elder Myra placed a gentle hand on Lord's arm. "Lower your weapon. There will be no violence today." Lord looked at his queen. Queen Vila was still frozen, still staring at the children. The girl stared back at her without fear. The boy hid behind his sister but watched with curious eyes. "Mother," said softly, "I know you are angry. I know you feel betrayed. But please listen to me. I did not leave because I hated our people. I left because I found something I never knew I was missing." "And what was that?" Queen Vila's voice was ice. "Love, real love. Not the political marriages you planned for me. Not the cold alliances between royal houses. I found a man who would die for me. A man who ran into fire to save strangers. A man who taught me that life is precious because it ends. He is human. He will be dead before your 100th birthday. What then?" His eyes filled with tears. "Then I will have had decades of happiness, decades of being loved, decades of watching my children grow. That is worth more than centuries of loneliness in a silver palace." Queen Vila looked at again. The human met her gaze without flinching. He was not afraid of her. He was not impressed by her power. He simply stood there, ready to protect his family. "Why did you take my daughter?" the queen demanded. "I did not take her," replied. "She chose me, and I spent every day trying to be worthy of that choice." "You could never be worthy. You are nothing. You are dust." "Maybe I am, but I love her anyway. I love her with everything I have, even though I know I will leave her too soon. That is what humans do. We love without thinking about time. We give everything knowing we will lose everything. Is that really so terrible?" Queen Vila had no answer. Elder Myra stepped forward. Her ancient eyes moved across the children, studying them with an intensity that made even nervous. "May I?" the old woman asked, extending her hand toward. Hesitated, but stepped forward on her own, unafraid. She took the old woman's hand. Elder Myra closed her eyes. Her silver skin glowed brighter as she used her ancient gifts to sense what lay within the child. After a long moment, her eyes opened wide. Her breath caught in her throat. "What is it?" Queen Vila demanded. "What do you sense?" Elder Myra looked at the queen with an expression Vila had never seen before. It took her a moment to recognize it. It was wonder. "These children," Elder Myra whispered, "they are not abominations, they are miracles. Their gifts are stronger than any child I have ever touched. The human blood has not weakened them. It has made them something new, something powerful." She turned to face Queen Vila directly. "My queen, I have served your family for 500 years. I have watched our people grow weaker with each generation. Our numbers fall, our gifts fade. We are a dying race, too proud to admit it." She gestured to the children, two standing brave and watching quietly. "These children may be the answer to prayers we forgot to speak. They may be the future we thought we had lost." Queen Vila looked at her, at their human father, at the daughter who had her, at the small home filled with love and drawings and hope. For the first time in centuries, she did not know what to do. The silence in the small room was heavy. Queen Vila stood like a statue of ice, processing what Elder Myra had said. Her were miracles, her were powerful, her were half-human. Everything she believed was cracking like old glass. Lord was the first to speak. "My queen, surely this is some trick. The old woman has been fooled by these creatures. We should take the princess back to our and leave these abominations here." "Abominations," stepped forward. His voice was still calm, but there was steel beneath the surface. "They are children. They are 6 and 8 years old. They have done nothing wrong except be born to parents who love each other." "You should not even exist," Lord spat. "Your kind breeds like insects. You spread across the galaxy like a disease, and now you have infected our royal bloodline." Did not look away. "I have heard these words before. Every species thinks they are the best. Every empire believes others are beneath them. But let me tell you something about humans, Lord. We do not survive because we are strong. We survive because we adapt. We survive because we never stop trying." Pretty words from a creature who will be dead in 50 years. "Yes, I will die. Every human dies, but before I go, I will have loved my wife with every part of my heart. I will have raised my children to be good people. I will have left the world a little better than I found it." Eyes were fierce. "Can you say the same? Can you say that your centuries of life have meant anything? Or have you just existed, year after year, waiting for something that never comes?" Lord's hand moved toward his weapon again. "Enough!" Queen Vila's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Lord, you will not speak again until I command it. Elder Myra, tell me more about what you sensed." Elder Myra moved to stand before the children, watched her with curious eyes, held his sister's hand tightly. "The girl has telepathic gifts that exceed any child her age. She can hear surface thoughts without trying, but there is something else mixed with the gift, something creative and flexible. She does not use her power the way do. She uses it like a human would use a tool, adapting it to different situations. And the boy. His body is remarkable. Children are fragile. They need centuries to reach full strength. But this boy heals like a human, fast and complete. His genetics give him power. His human genetics give him resilience. Together, they make something new. Queen Vila finally looked at her directly. She had avoided their eyes until now, afraid of what she might see. But she could not look away any longer. Stared back at her grandmother without fear. Her purple eyes were bright and defiant. "You came to take Mama away," the girl said. "It was not a question." "I came to find the truth," the queen replied. "The truth is that Mama loves Papa, and Papa loves Mama, and they both love us." His voice was clear and strong for such a young child. "Is that truth not good enough for you?" Something shifted in Queen Vila's chest. No one had spoken to her like this in centuries. No noble, no lord, no prince had ever looked at her with such simple honesty. "Child, you do not understand how complicated these things are." "I am 8 years old. I understand more than you think," squeezed her brother's hand. "Is scared. He thinks you are going to hurt us. Can you tell him that you will not hurt us?" The queen hesitated. She had come here prepared to condemn. She had come here expecting to find her daughter held prisoner or driven mad by humans. She had not expected to find love. She had not expected to find powerful children asking her simple questions. Stepped forward. "Mother, I know I betrayed you. I know I broke every rule our people have. But I am not sorry. These past 10 years have been the happiest of my life, has given me more joy than all my centuries in the palace." "He is mortal," Queen Vila said. The words sounded weaker now. "Yes, and that makes every moment with him precious. Do you remember what it felt like to truly want something, to be afraid of losing it? Our people have lived so long that we have forgotten how to feel. We float through centuries without passion, without purpose." Took her mother's hands. The queen flinched at the touch but did not pull away. "When I watched run into that burning reactor to save people he had never met, I saw something I had never seen before. I saw courage. Real courage. Not the kind that comes from knowing you will live forever. The kind that comes from knowing you might die and doing the right thing anyway." He was foolish. He was brave. There is a difference, and that bravery is in our children too. That human fire burns in their hearts alongside our ice. Queen Vila pulled her hands free. She walked to the window and looked out at the station beyond. Humans moved through the corridors below, living their short lives, building their simple dreams. "Our people are dying," she said quietly. It was the first time she had ever spoken these words aloud. "The birth rate falls every century. Our gifts grow weaker with each generation. The scientists say we have 10,000 years left, perhaps 20,000, but after that there will be nothing but a memory." She turned back to face the room. "I have spent my entire reign searching for answers. I have sent ships to distant stars looking for cures. I have commanded the greatest minds of our empire to find solutions. Nothing has worked." Elder Myra bowed her head. "We were not meant to live forever, my queen. Even stars die eventually." "But these children," Queen Vila looked at, "and you say they are stronger than pure children." "Not just stronger, different. The human genetics have introduced something new, something alive. I cannot explain it in words, but when I touched the girl's mind I felt hope, real hope, for the first time in 300 years. Spoke up. Humans have a word for this. We call it hybrid vigor. When two different populations mix, the offspring are often stronger than either parent alone. It is how nature survives. It is how life moves forward." "You speak of my like they are science experiments." "No, I speak of them like they are miracles." Moved to stand beside his wife. "My queen, I know you hate me. I know you think I stole your daughter, but I will tell you this. I have loved since the day I met her. I have tried every day to be worthy of her choice, and I have raised our children to be proud of both sides of their blood." He looked at and They know they are different. They know the galaxy does not understand them, but they also know that they are loved, and that love has made them strong. Queen Vila was silent for a long time. The room waited. The stars outside continued their ancient dance. Finally, the queen spoke. I will not make a decision today. These children must be tested properly on our. We must understand what they are before we can decide what they mean. No, said firmly. I will not let you experiment on my children like laboratory animals. Not experiments, evaluation by the finest scholars in the empire. The queen's voice softened just slightly. I give you my word, daughter, no harm will come to them. I just need to understand. He looked back at her. Something passed between them, a silent conversation that needed no words. We will come with them, said. Wherever they go, we go. A human on that has never happened. Then it is time for something new. Queen Vila almost smiled, almost. You are braver than you should be, Park. My wife says the same thing. This time the queen did smile. It was small and cold, but it was there. Very well, you will all come to our. You will stay as guests, not prisoners. The children will be studied, and then we will decide what the future holds. She looked at her one more time, stood tall and proud, peeked out from behind his sister, still nervous but less afraid than before. Perhaps, Queen Vila said slowly, I came here expecting to find a tragedy. Instead, I may have found something else entirely. What is that? Asked. The queen did not answer, but in her ancient heart a new feeling was taking root. It felt strange and fragile and terrifying. It felt like hope. It was called, and it was unlike anything had ever imagined. The ship descended through silver clouds, and below them spread a world of crystal towers and glowing forests. Rivers of light flowed between mountains of white stone. The sky was purple and gold, lit by 3 distant suns. It is beautiful, whispered. Stood beside him at the viewing window, their children between them. She had not seen her in 10 years. The sight brought tears to her eyes. I forgot how beautiful it was, she said softly. I forgot so many things. Pressed her face against the glass. Is this where you grew up, Mama? Yes, my love, this is where I was born. Pointed at a massive tower that rose above all the others. It seemed to be made of pure light. What is that? That is the royal palace, Queen Vila said, appearing behind them. That is where I rule, and where your mother was meant to rule after me. The ship landed in a courtyard of white marble. Nobles had gathered to witness the return of their queen and their lost princess. When the doors opened and the royal family stepped out, a wave of whispers moved through the crowd. Then they saw the children. The whispers became shouts. Some nobles pointed in horror. Others turned away in disgust. Guards moved closer, hands on their weapons. Be calm, Queen Vila commanded. Her voice carried across the courtyard like thunder. These are my guests. They are under my protection. Anyone who threatens them will answer to me. The noise died down, but the hostile looks remained. Felt 1,000 eyes on him, each one filled with hatred or fear. He reached down and took his hand. It is okay, he told his son quietly. I am here. They were led through the palace to a set of private chambers. The rooms were larger than their entire home on Horizon 7. Silver light poured through windows of crystal. The furniture was carved from materials could not name. You will rest here tonight, Queen Vila said. Tomorrow the evaluation begins. When the queen left, finally let herself cry, held her while the children explored their new rooms, too excited by the strange surroundings to notice their mother's tears. What if they decide we are monsters? Whispered. What if they take the children away? They will not, said firmly. I will not let them. You cannot fight an entire empire. Watch me try. Laughed through her tears. Even after 10 years, her husband's courage still surprised her. The evaluation began the next morning. Scholars came from across the empire, old with ancient knowledge and sharp eyes. They tested the children with instruments and questions and mental probes. Faced every test without fear. When they asked her to read their thoughts, she did so easily. When they asked her to solve puzzles, she solved them faster than they expected. When they tried to trick her with illusions, she saw through them and laughed. "Your thoughts are not hidden," she told one shocked scholar. "They are just quiet, but I can hear quiet things." Was tested differently. The scholars pushed him, measuring his endurance and his healing. They made small cuts on his skin and watched in amazement as the wounds closed within minutes. They exposed him to cold and heat, and his body adapted faster than any pure. "Remarkable," one scholar muttered. "His cells regenerate at human speed but with precision. The combination is unprecedented." On the third day, Elder Myra called for a special council. Scholars, nobles, and advisors gathered in the great hall. Queen Vila sat on her throne and stood before her with their children. "I have studied the ancient texts," Elder Myra announced. "I have searched our oldest records, and I have found something that may explain these children." She held up a scroll so old it seemed ready to crumble. 3,000 years ago, our prophets spoke of a time when the would fade. They said our power would weaken, our numbers would fall, our empire would crumble from within. The crowd murmured nervously. But they also spoke of hope. They said that children of two stars would arise, children who carried old blood and new blood together, children who would bring strength where there was weakness. Elder Myra looked at and children of two stars, half children of our silver sun, half human children of their yellow star, the prophecy speaks of them. "This is madness," Lord shouted. "You would have us believe that these half-breeds are the saviors of our people. They are accidents, mistakes, the products of a princess who forgot her duty." "I forgot nothing," spoke up. Her voice was clear and proud. "I chose love over duty. I chose life over tradition, and I would make the same choice again." "You betrayed your blood." "I enriched it," stepped forward. "Look at your empire, Lord. Look at what centuries of pure blood have brought us. Our children are fewer each generation. Our gifts grow weaker. We are dying slowly, so slowly that we pretend not to notice." She gestured to and. "But these children are not dying. They are growing. They are strong. They have everything we have lost and everything humans have that we never understood." Moved to stand beside his wife, the nobles stared at him with cold eyes, but he did not look away. "I am not here to insult your people," he said. "The built-in empire that has lasted longer than human civilization has existed. That deserves respect, but every species has limits. Every empire has blind spots. Yours is pride." "How dare you?" Lord began. "I dare because I have nothing to lose." His voice was steady. "I am human. I will be dead before most of you change your clothes. My life is a brief flash compared to your centuries, but in that brief flash I have learned something that your long lives have made you forget." He looked at Queen Vela directly. "Time is not a gift. Time is a test. What you do with your years matters more than how many years you have. You have millions of years of history, but how much of it means anything? How many of your immortal lives have been spent actually living?" The hall was silent. Humans rush through life because we know it ends. We build and dream and love with everything we have because we know we will lose everything eventually. That urgency, that fire, that desperate need to matter while we can, that is what they have lost, and that is what you have inherited from me. Queen Vila rose from her throne. Every eye turned to her. "Park," she said, "you speak to me in ways no one has spoken in centuries. You challenge traditions that are older than your entire species. You stand in my palace and tell me that my people are failing." She descended the steps toward him. "And you are right." The crowd gasped. "I have ruled for 300 years," the queen continued. I have watched our numbers fall. I have seen our best scholars fail to find answers. I have felt the slow dying of my people, and I have been helpless to stop it. She stopped before and looked into his human eyes. But these children, your children, they are something new, something we could never have created on our own. The prophecy speaks of them. The tests confirm their power. And you, human, you have shown me something I thought was lost forever. What is that? Asked. Courage in the face of death. Hope despite knowing the end will come. The will to matter, not because you have time to spare, but because every moment is precious. Queen Vila turned to face her people. These children are not abominations. They are the future. The prophecy was right. Children of two stars will save us, not by replacing our blood, but by reminding us what it means to truly live. She looked at, and her eyes were soft with something that might have been love. My daughter made a choice that I thought was a betrayal. I was wrong. She made a choice that may save our entire race. For the first time in 10 years, Queen Vila embraced her daughter. And in that moment, in the great hall of an empire older than human memory, something changed. A door that had been closed for centuries began to open. A dying people began to remember how to hope. It began with a human engineer who ran into fire. It began with a princess who chose love. It began with two children who carried the light of two stars in their hearts. It began, and it would never stop.